All right, my painting is all dried off. I'm going to start back in with my flat brush, 3/4 inch brush. I'm looking for these nice darks up against my chicken coop here. Got those darks underneath the roof. Dark trees are going to go a little bit darker. I want that nice dark color. Midtones, and then my lights are still kind of left light. So I'm still following my value sketch. I'm going to start with a little bit of phthalo blue. Little bit of lemon yellow just to make a nice rich green, keeping it fairly dark. I want that nice dark color. Really load my brush up. Nice and tight right up against my chicken coop. Cutting it out. Cut some shrubbery out. Leaving little bits of holes in it. So I'm painting behind some of my shrubbery, painting those trees in darker. Up underneath my boughs a little bit, just creating those darker shapes underneath there. Just letting my brush kind of dance. A bit tighter up against my chicken coop. Nice and tight up against that back corner. You can see it's just really bringing my chicken coop forward. Some nice tree shapes. I'm going to use a little bit of lemon yellow. I'm going to do the tops of the shrubbery. Just leaving the very tops of it, a little bit of white on there, a little bit of light. Just putting second wash on all these, just building it up, building another layer up in there, making it a little richer. A little bit more lemon yellow. Coming in on the shadow side of my deciduous tree there. Again, cutting out my chicken coop. Getting nice and tight up against the roof line. A little bit more of that phthalo blue and lemon yellow, make that rich green. Again, I'm cutting out the other side of my chicken coop. I'm looking at my value sketch, nice and dark in that area. You can see how that chicken coop really starts coming forward now. Nice and dark, really loaded up my brush, nice rich paint. Want to come behind, cut out that deciduous tree. So I want that nice golden tree there, sitting there behind the chicken coop. So I want to kind of go around it as well. Look how far back I am on my brush. I'm holding way back on the handle. And that lets my brush dance a little bit more and makes my brush strokes just a little bit more fun. They kind of bounce a little bit more. Nice and tight up against my roof line. Pulling some of that paint around a little bit. Not overworking it too much. A bit more lemon yellow. Just filling in some of these open whites that I have. I like to leave some of those whites of my paper showing through, then I can come back in and put some nice pure color in them. That kind of makes those areas pop a little bit more. A bit tighter up against my roof line, a little bit darker shadow in there. Rinse my brush, dry it off a little bit, and just kind of pull that paint around. Don't overwork your paints too much. Don't scrub on them too much. Looking at sunlight's coming, hitting my roosters, creating a cast shadow on that wall. So for my shadow, I'm going to mix up a little bit of alizarin crimson. Mix it in with my lemon yellow. I'm just making a darker orange. Got a little bit of blue in there as well, so it's kind of browning it up a little bit. I'm just doing the shadow side of my chicken coop. This side is all in shadow. Again, looking at my value sketch. Nice and dark up against the roof. Cutting that window frame out a little bit. Cutting some shrubbery out. Nice and tight up against my roof line. I'm going to go with a smaller brush here. This is a number 5 round. I just want a little bit more detail, so I want a rounder brush or a smaller brush. I'm going to use a little bit of cerulean blue, and I want to come back in and I just want to put a little bit of cerulean blue in these windows. They're reflecting the sky and just would have a little bit of cerulean blue in them. Rinse my brush and just kind of pull that color out to the pencil lines a little bit. Adds a little bit of that blue color in there a little bit. Just bounces that color around a little bit. Back to my brownish color. I'm just filling in that door area a little bit, making it a little darker. You can see it breaks up that big space of that front of the chicken coop. A little more of that brown. Just underneath the eaves a little bit. Again, looking at my value sketch, I've got that shadow that falls underneath the roof line there. With my brush, I just kind of soften up those edges a little bit. Pull my paint down tight around my rooster. I can go right over my cast shadow. Coming with some of those darks underneath my foliage. A little bit of my grassy area there. Just putting some shadows in there, kind of bouncing that darker color around a little bit. Soften it, soften those lines up with just a damp brush. Pull those off a little bit. Soften up that dark. I like to cut out that ridge of the roof line, or that spine of the roof line, and then kind of follow your direction of your tile or your shingles coming down your roof. They kind of follow those roof lines. A little bit of shadow underneath the roof. Cutting those braces out a little bit more, just a little bit more color in there, tightening that up a little bit. And just softening up around my rooster a little bit, lightening that up a little bit. That area is still a little bit wet. If you feel you went too dark in this area, you can always kind of wet it up again. Just with a damp brush. Let it sit for a couple seconds. Let that water just soak in a little bit. Then I use a paper towel and I just blot straight down on that wet area and just lift some of that paint out a little bit. I want that area a little bit lighter. I really want my rooster to stand out against it. And I'm going to go real dark with him. This front area, I just kind of want to put that dark corner in. I'm just going to mix up a little bit of a transparent purple, kind of put it over that corner a little bit. Just holds the viewer's eye in the painting a little bit more, I think. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll start in on my final wash.